here to talk about what unions want for the economy, and from President Obama, Jim Hoffa, president of the International Brotherhood of Teamsters, a union with 1.4 million members. I think I have that right. So you have met with the president recently. You're going to see him again tomorrow on the sort of traditional Labor Day Detroit event. What have you told him that you want to see in a jobs bill?
We want a bold plan. Labor wants a bold program that's going to rebuild
mean something
America.
That's expensive? Usually when people say, oh, I want a bold plan, it means something that pours a lot of money.
The answer is it's going to challenge America. I mean, so far what we've done hasn't worked. We're still at 9%. So it's not working. We need a bold plan. We have to look at what happened with Irene. We have to rebuild our roads, basically our dams, our highways. Everything's got to be redone. Our schools, we've got to start that. We need a WPA type program. But most of all, what I think he's got to do is to challenge business. This is not something that labor needs everybody to be in the game. And what's happening is everybody's saying, what is Obama going to do? And what obligation does American business have? They're sitting on trillions of dollars right now. They're not spending money. We've lost 8 million jobs since '08. And we've got to start challenging them to get into the game. So another faction of what he should be doing is putting in some type of a tax incentive to get them to spend money, to get off the sidelines, get into the game, and start spending some of that money here in America and put America back to work. It can't be done just by the federal government. It's got to be done by all of us. And they've got to put aside labels to say a Republican, Democrat. This is an American problem, and all of us can get together to solve this problem. So they've got to start spending money here, and instead of building that next factory in Mexico, build it here.
Well, yeah, I want to talk to you about trade deals because the president also wants a couple of free trade deals that I know you were opposed to. But so what you're talking about is perhaps a tax credit for businesses for every person they hire. I don't know if you just heard, but Senator Jim DeMint said, if they're going to hire someone anyway, sure, they'll take the $5,000, but it's not going to induce businesses to hire because what they really see and what they really fear is the uncertainty of what health care is going to cost them. What they really fear is regulation, that they don't understand how much bureaucracy they're going to have to build into their business and how much that will cost. Do you accept that as a premise, or do you think businesses are simply sitting on money waiting for what?
I think businesses are sitting on money. Look at Apple. They have $76 billion in their checking account. And
Which
they're not
allowed
spending
to have.
But they're not doing anything with it. And instead of investing here, everything they do is in China or is in Asia somewhere. And the answer, look at Honda. Honda's building a $1 billion plant. And they want to build it in Mexico. This is on the drawing board right now. Why isn't it? Well, we know that. But don't they have an obligation to America to build it in America, to put people to work here instead of in Mexico? That's what I believe in. This is really, I think the president should challenge the patriotism of these American corporations that are sitting on the sidelines saying, why do we have high unemployment, but I'm not going to hire anybody? They have an obligation just like the federal government, just like Obama. We've all got to get into the game, and I don't see that happening. So the trillions and billions of dollars that they have on the sidelines, they have money. Pfizer and General Electric have trillions of dollars overseas. Let's start repatriating that money. Let's start a program to get America going again. The problem in America is not that we don't have enough money. We've got more money than any other country in the world. The problem is American business is not spending it and not getting it in the game. That's how we're going to get America going again.
I'm hearing tweets across the universe here because I want to go back. Are you questioning the patriotism of Apple for sitting on money rather than hiring?
Yes, I am. What is it with a company that makes 76, and they sell most of their products here in the United States? I mean, they're the biggest. Apple, you got Apple stores everywhere else. They get sitting on that kind of money, and every time they do something, they do it in China. They do it somewhere else. There's something wrong with that. Don't they have an obligation?
Well, they would tell you that the high price of labor and the high cost of health care and the high cost of environmental, drove them out of the country.
I don't believe that at all. We have companies here that make a lot of money, like UPS. We have a number of great companies here that are functioning here, that are union, Sikorsky, and they're doing very, very well. You can do it here, but the answer is you have to have the incentive. And so many companies like Mr. Coffee and all these other companies that have closed and moved to Mexico, they're wrong, they're unpatriotic. We've got to turn this around and say, hey, we are an American company, we owe an obligation to America, let's put America back to work.
As you know, your counterpart at the AFL-CIO has suggested that perhaps AFL-CIO would not be quite so focused on the reelection of the president, but instead sort of a 24/7 help for its members and getting them politicized and perhaps local leaders. Are you happy enough with President Obama, who has done a lot of things, including allowing Mexican trucks in what appears to be a pilot program across the border, which you oppose? He is pushing for at least 3 free trade agreements, which you oppose. Are you happy enough with him to fully invest in his reelection?
We're going to have to. President Obama, we don't agree with all of his policies. There's a number of things we don't agree with. But overall, he's done a good job. Don't forget, he took over the worst economy in 80 years when he took over in 2009. We had the crash of 2008. We lost 8 million jobs since then. He's going to have a very difficult time turning this around. When the alternatives are Sarah Palin and Michelle Bachmann and Rick Perry, it makes it real easy to make this decision.
So you basically, it's better than what you see coming down the pike.
Those people are anti-union, anti-worker. They don't believe in what I believe in. I don't think we really have a choice here, because if you hear what they talk about basically, no taxes on business, cutting unemployment, getting rid of Social Security, Medicare, Medicaid. When you cut through all of the rhetoric, that's where you end up. And that's not the what America wants, and that's not what the Teamsters want.
Essentially, if you ask a Tea Party member, most of them what they stand for, they would say smaller government, lower taxes, less federal spending, less regulation. Do you think that there are no members of the Teamsters or of unions in general that believe in that?
Well,
I think such a horrid...
I think when you explain it to them, I'm not going to say there aren't some Republicans in the Teamsters. I mean, obviously there are. It's a big union. There are a lot of people, a lot of ideas in the Teamsters union. But when you cut through it all and you start telling them, do you want somebody that will cut Social Security? Do you want your Social Security? If you put it on that basis, they understand, I want those things. Those are the things I've worked for. Those are the things that I need, and that's what I expect of America. When you do it that way and cut through this idea, this rhetoric that they have, the Tea Party does, then people realize what's at stake here. And then we see what they've done in Wisconsin and Ohio. Once they get in, what's the first thing they do? They go after collective bargaining for workers. That's the first thing they do. They have tax cuts for the corporations, both in Wisconsin and Ohio. That's the first thing they do. So you kind of see where they're going. And when you explain that to people, to say that's where they're at and that's where we're at, I think most people will go with Obama.
Teamsters President Jim Hoffa, thank you so much for coming by.
Great to be here.
Appreciate it.